Graham Hunter, good morning to you. How you doing?
Morning, gentlemen.
We're all basking in the afterglow of 6 points from 6 in the international window. How are Scotland faring, Graham? What's going on with you?
Oh, I'm on camera. lads. He who laughs last. No, okay. Kazakhstan wasn't one of our glorious moments. But we're at a stage where, and you would recognise this, and I love the way that your generosity, your Celtic generosity, means you over the years have come back towards us. That's avoid that. You lose 3 or 4 top players, and you go out 1 or 2 defensive errors. You go 2-0 down, and you don't have people who know how to pull it back. It was a display that was horrible to watch, and it's left the players, I think, battered and hurt in terms of their confidence, because even though we're only talking about Albania and Israel, the last couple of performances in the autumn were very good, and there was a lot of football, and there's a lot of football to come from this group. And therefore, rather than be jingoistic, which there's not really much point in doing after so many matches of hurt across my lifetime, I genuinely think that we have a group now which, if well led, will take us to second place in the group. And given how we started, that's a big ask. But I think that the quality's there. And if we fail to do it, the great thing about this group is that they're of an age, they're of a mindset, and they're of an experience. They could do with more Champions League experience, clearly. But I think that the group is solid. I genuinely think that we have levels of talent which, if they don't quite allow us to be wildly excited, then definitely optimistic. So the start was very poor, Ger, and just like the Kazakhs' third goal, that was a cheap shot.
Sorry about that. Couldn't resist it. Okay, I'm not. Let's talk about Sergio Ramos. You've been writing about Sergio Ramos and his penalty-taking prowess, and it turns out you've noticed a pattern.
You haven't done any kind of caution, adults warning for Liverpool fans in this, are you? Are they booing now? It was absolutely brilliant the other night, because Malta is such a stronghold of Premier League affections. Okay, admittedly, more heavily Manchester United than Liverpool. Ramos was booed every time he touched the ball in Malta last night. Absolutely fantastic. The reason I wrote about him was I was down at Mestalla watching Spain squeak through against Norway in a game that made them sweat. And he took this Panenka chip penalty, which you if you watch him, and he's taken 10 penalties this season. It took him a long time to become a registered penalty taker, because there was always people in his way for the national team. There would have been Xabi Alonso or Raul or Villa for his club sides. It would have been Van Nistelrooy and Raul again, and Ronaldo, etc. So therefore, although he's always been very adept technically, he hasn't had the chance until Cristiano Ronaldo moved away. And 10 this season, of which 4 have been chips, but his technique's identical, and his technique has changed over the years. And you get the feeling, and poor old Rune Jarstein dived to his right. Spain won 2-1. The crucial moment of that match was Ramos against Jarstein. And you knew he was going to chip this one, and Jarstein knew, but still dived. And I spoke to the keeper. What inspired writing the column was standing talking to this big 6'3" Norwegian goalkeeper in the tunnel in Mestalla afterwards. And his eyes were that, it wasn't that it was 1,000 yards stare, it was 1,000. He was absolutely disgusted to have lost, but disgusted in himself too. And I asked him, I said, how do you confront? Because I've had some penalty experience in conversations this season, in that I've asked both Messi and Suarez about their techniques when they chip penalties. And Messi was very clear. He said, listen, I saw the keeper. That was the game against, it was certainly a Champions League game, so I'm presuming it was the game against Lyon, let's say. And Messi said, I saw the keeper move. But Ramos decides in a way which is based upon his own run-up and his own instincts. And there's a tell. So on Saturday night, I could tell it was going to be a chip. And Jarstein said that he'd spent the whole day thinking about what happens if Spain get a penalty and Ramos takes it. And he'd done his video studying, as all goalkeepers and analysts do these days. He knew the percentage of chips that Ramos did, and he decided he'll try to chip me. And therefore, and he even spoke to a friend of his, Jarstein, to say, listen, do you think I'm making the right decision here? I've got this drilled in my head. And the friend said, yeah. And he decided right up until the point at which Ramos plants his right foot and is then about to strike with his right foot. Jarstein suddenly went, I'm going right. And he went right. And he just, at the end of the interview, he said to me, and it was a bad decision. And it was. And it fascinated me. So I went and studied his penalties, Ger. And his technique is interesting. And there is a tell. And therefore, goalkeepers, if they've taken the time to read my beautiful column, will now be able to save Ramos's penalties without a bother.
And there's Ramos sending the boys round to your gaff for the horse's head in the bed anytime now.
Whoa. Have you not been watching? Sergio comes round himself. I've actually, my shoulder's kind of dislocated already, vicariously. Oh no, listen, there's a tell, and if anybody wants to know what it is, as he runs up, 6 steps back, 1 to the left, depending on his mood, because he varies the length of his strides, 3 or 4 steps forward, plants the right foot, and then kicks with the right foot, lifting it immediately. But the right foot before it plants either does a little flick, a little donkey kick backwards, and that means you know he's going to chip, or he drags the toes of the right boot along the ground before he plants the right boot and then shoots. That means it's going normally his left, keeper's right. And it's about technique. I called it a tell because I like that sells quite well, and people are into poker these days. But what the man has got is technique, and he's a technically very good footballer. And part of it was inspired from having been able to watch Spain train so much and seen how competitive he is. I've always loved players competing with each other after training, doing tricks, doing free kicks, penalty competitions, whatever it might be, head tennis. I love that. And we, the journalists and the public listening today, don't get to see that enough. And football could do itself an enormous favour if we're not allowed to see the draconian secrets of a training session. And film some of the post-training stuff for the fans and let them see players fooling around and fooling on their technique. It makes great viewing.
Yeah, for sure. A couple of other rumours in the papers this morning that we just wanted to get your quick take on. Rashford to Barca on the back of the Irish Star this morning, saying that 110 million euros is the fee. Anything in this? Is this Marcus Rashford's agent trying to get a new contract for Marcus Rashford just after they signed one recently?
I don't know where the story was written or who wrote it. So without jumping on them, my point of view would be threefold. Number one, Rashford fits exactly the profile of what Barcelona want and need. 2, they don't have 100 million, and they're going to buy De Ligt if they possibly can, at which point, even if they sell well, the money supply is more than run out. And finally, without claiming to know him intimately, I have interviewed Rashford a couple of times. I think he's so dedicated to Manchester United that it would shock me rigid if he left. And therefore, I can't put a lot of weight in this line. And it's either helping Rashford or guesswork, in my opinion.
OK. And then the Gareth Bale situation. What is Bale's relationship with Zinedine Zidane? How quickly will something happen here, do you think, now?
Well, I can answer that question, but I haven't read it, but is there a story? I was briefed that there was a story saying Zidane is going to kick him out. Is that the basis of the chat?
I think it's that Zidane wants Eriksen, and that's to fund Eriksen. You were reading this morning.
They're 2 separate stories. Okay. So as has the story that they will get rid of Gareth Bale this summer, that obviously Perez signed him, Graham, as you well know, and like the question I have is he still a Perez player, and to what does that actually mean at this moment? Because I would say if Zidane doesn't like a guy, that would pretty much supersede what Florentino Perez will do, and Zidane, it seems from the AS article, will be the person who will be taking the decision to sell him. Now the article doesn't go into any detail about whether there's been a rift or whether he actually specifically dislikes Bale, but very clearly the article does say that Perez signed him, Zidane will sell him, so I think we can take our own learnings from that.
Yeah, I think, listen, it's absolutely essential for anybody who wants to understand it that Gareth Bale's in the power seat. And any reporting that doesn't stem from that point of view seems to me to be ill-advised or downright stupid. It doesn't matter which country it's coming from. Gareth Bale signed a contract until, I think, 2023. That means that he has all the power. I would also point out that until now, it has bothered him not a jot what people say about him, that the club want him to play less golf during the football season. It has bothered him not a jot. The fact that twice now, just as when he turned Ryan Giggs down, when Ryan Giggs was David Moyes' assistant, and said, come here and we'll pay you more money and we'll pay Spurs the same money as Real Madrid, and he said, no, I'm going to Real Madrid. He turned the same deaf ear to 2 attempts by Real Madrid to kick him out, to move him on. They wanted Mbappe, they wanted Neymar, they wanted him to move out, they wanted to generate the cash, they wanted to clear a space. And Gareth Bale just went no. As far as I understand Gareth Bale's point of view about staying in Madrid and how much he loves the life there in Madrid and how much Real Madrid pay him, and the fact that he consistently not only wins trophy but influences the winning of those trophies, means that the power is entirely in his hands. He can be told to leave, he can be treated with a cold shoulder, and until they actually say, we're not going to give you a pass to play, we're not going to name you as part of our squad, the power is entirely in Gareth. And people can manufacture stories about generating cash for Gareth Bale to buy other players if they want. But until they're absolutely clear that Bale has had it up to here and has had enough with treatment or not playing, then they're wasting their time. And at the moment, I don't believe that Gareth Bale feels like that, Owen, and I think that's the fundamental point.
Graham, great point to finish on. Thanks a million for joining us this morning. Graham Hunter with us there, getting some thoughts on some big stories. Rashford to Barca, Bale not leaving at the moment, or certainly it'll be his decision. A long L contract.
It's a long old contract.